now, so you might have to carry.
All
Hey!
good. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today for our second Tribe Mastermind webinar for this month, for the month of November. We really appreciate everybody taking time out of what I know is an extremely busy time of the year, time in the business. Just want to open by expressing my sincere appreciation for everybody joining us here today. And for those of you watching later on the recording, thank you so much for, being willing to listen to Mark and I here, share some of the insights we have to offer today.
Right on. Yeah. Cruising right into the Thanksgiving holiday. I think if you're anything like the two of us, it's like, whoa, man, no way is it this late in the year. It's already that time to start to get introspective, to really be grateful. And, as an industry, there's not an industry out there, it's arguable, that has more to be grateful for than all of we do. And this time for me, Danny, it's all about really trying to do my best to set my team, my referral partners, myself up for success in the coming year. And so, this is that time of year already. And, I don't know about you, man, but it feels like it has just flown. And we say that every year, but man, never been more true than this year.
Yeah, well, actually, this year's been kind of a weird one where it's both dragged on, like it's felt like it's gone on forever, and it's literally gone by in a flash at the same time, depending on where you're in. So,
yeah, I mean, there's a million things that we could say, about the year, but it is that time of year. And so I think, the goal of this, forum here today is really just to try to get things set up. And, we had kind of talked about the format of that, being current events. One of the things that we wanted to start to top off our, our talk was what's really going on right now. And, dominating headlines as this election transition or lack thereof, and just a massive spike in COVID. And Danny and I just got back from retreat. I was there in person. Danny, you were there by virtual Zoom. And the keynote speaker was Ryan Holiday. And for those of you who don't know Ryan Holiday, he's written quite a few books. A really remarkable young man. I really admired how many books he's gotten out, how much traction he's gotten. I think he's only 33 years old, but he wrote Ego is the Enemy, and the one that I just read, Obstacle is the Way. And dovetailing in was I was pretty impressed with his approach on COVID. I personally hadn't heard this before, but he is a historian by nature. He really loves facts, and he loves history. He loves researching history, especially Stoicism. But when he started to talk about COVID, he said, "Hey," he basically had massive clarity around the fact that he knew it wasn't going to be something that was here and gone. He cited the Spanish flu of 100 years ago, and he was talking, Danny, about his conversation with an epidemiologist once these vaccines came out. And for all of us in the mortgage industry, the second we heard the vaccine news, you saw rates spike in a day, which goes back to what we were talking about last time. In the near term, rates are going to be low, we think, but there's going to be massive volatility. And so if I'm coaching my borrowers right now, I'm telling them, hey, I expect massive volatility right now, and now is not a time where I think we should try to play the market. This decision's totally up to you, but I'm much more fearful that things are going to spike based on this, this brief news. We saw that with the vaccination, that I am hopeful that rates are going to come down. So that's how I've been coaching my clients, letting them make the decision because of this volatility in the market. But coming back to what I was saying about COVID, what Ryan Holiday said in his conversation with this epidemiologist is that the most vaccines that we've ever produced in a month was 1 million doses, right? And that is all we had, putting everything at it. That was the most that we could produce. Now, maybe we could produce more than that now, but 350 million people. So even once a vaccine is out, it's safe, it's adoptable by the masses. We're talking about a year to get everybody, inoculated with this vaccine, if that is in fact, the route that we go down. So I think, that really hit home for me, true or not. I didn't research any of his facts, but I wouldn't research because he's just so clear on, everything. I really admired how concise and convicted this guy was. But it really hit home for me that even if we have, a great news, hey, we have a cure for this thing, it could take us quite some time to really get that portion back. And then the economy has to recover after that. So what were your thoughts in listening to that, Danny?
Well, so the first thing I want to do is if we can just throw really quickly up the presentation here. I just want to remind the group that we have three things that we're committed to delivering you every time we jump on these webinars with you. So we're going to offer a current event, which Mark's alluded to, and we're going to go more deeply into that. We're going to talk about a mindset shift that we feel absolutely mission critical for you to be considering and adopting into your business, in order to really maximize your success both for this year and next year. And take action. We're going to spend a lot of time today, and our call in 2 weeks is going to be primarily about business planning. So yes, you do have to finish 2020 strong, and there's still 45 days in this year for you to just power. You've already had your best year ever. Most of the people that are on this, that are taking the time to invest in themselves and be on calls like this, very likely you've had your best year ever. There's still more time to finish strong, but it's also a time, as Mark said, for self-reflection. So jumping into current event, right? This is really, to kind of your point, Mark, following the numbers and what really is on the horizon for us as an industry, right, is volatility, right? And the thing that I heard Ryan say was that, think about the numbers, right? And you gotta, if we were to transition to a place where we were producing 1 million doses of vaccine a day, right? So 1 million a day, which is far beyond the greatest capabilities. But let's not discount that, right? We're an innovative country. We rise to challenge, and there's a ton of technology resources being put behind this. But even if we got there, and let's say we did, that's 1 million a day, and there's 360 million people. That's a year, right?
Yeah, thanks for cleaning up my math on that, bro. I'm so glad I have a wingman.
yeah, dude. I appreciate being here. So right away we know, hey, look, this is not something that we're going to be able to flip the switch on it. But what does that mean? And I put down here the quote from Ryan Holiday, right? The obstacle is the way, because what he invites us to do in his book and in the keynote that Mark and I had an opportunity to experience is to get really curious about the challenges that face you in your life and business. And if you remember, I'll kind of check back into last session 2 weeks ago, where our mindset shift was curious, not furious, right? So that's what we offered, and you can revisit that recording and kind of see what we said about that, because I can share personally that was one of the greatest mindset shifts that I ever experienced in my life. And the stoic model that Ryan offered in The Obstacle is the Way is to say curiosity is not just about, kind of accepting and understanding kind of that negative position or the challenge, right? This obviously challenging time, but it's to ask yourself, how can I turn this to my advantage, right? Where is the opportunity here that I can, using my, wits and willpower, drive down a path when everyone else is paralyzed by confusion and fear? And again, a reminder of last week's quote on the current event page, a confused mind does not act, right? There is tremendous opportunity right now for confusion. And that confusion can lead to paralysis, both in life and business. And this group, the tribe group that's joining us here, should be uniquely suited to confront that potential paralysis with curiosity and then action. So, that's really what I took away, Mark, is that, yes, there could be a possible shutdown, right, that comes from the recent numbers. Maybe less likely, because of the kind of lack of action that we are seeing and the confusion that we're seeing kind of in national politics, right? A confused mind does not act there either. Yeah. But it's a possibility. What does that mean for the economy? What does that mean for interest rates? Another current event that we don't have up here as a bullet point, but there's starting to be, and I have a tendency to maybe get a little bit too technical sometimes. So I'll apologize in advance on that. But one thing that's really important for you to know if you happen to be a mortgage industry professional is that there's starting to be liquidity in the 1.5 coupon from in the secondary market. And what that means for us as an industry is there is a real possibility that we'll see sub 2% interest rates.
That is unbelievable. I cannot even.
It's a real possibility, but what I want this group to take away and what I want to emphasize, and I think we want to emphasize, Mark, is that we can't put all of our eggs in that basket, because as much as that becomes a possibility for us and all of the implications that come behind that, right? Liquidity implications for the companies that you work for, ops capacity implications for those companies, your own team's ability to be able to manage the emotion of being in constant overdrive, right? If you run I think it was Pulp Fiction, right? Like I'm a race car in the red, right? And you don't want to run the race car in the red, right? Your teams, or even just yourself, you've been running your race car in the red for too long. And if we continue down a path that takes us to sub 2% interest rates, then you have to make a conscious decision. Your business will have to make the decision how you want to confront that situation. But as likely, I would say, is that we see rates spike up the way we did, a couple of days ago, and having those temporary blips on the radar. What does that mean for your business? And it's leadership right now and foresight into the future and creating optionality for yourself and for your team. It has never been more urgent, which is why I'm so excited to be, talking about business planning today. So any more comments you want to make about that, or about, potential seasonality, Mark?
Yeah, the thing that really resonated for me while you were talking, Danny, is I think a lot of us have been running so hard, race car in the red, if you will, that we're not taking time to think about our teams, how exhausted they are, how much they need a break. And for us as leaders, I think Tim, our coach, says it best. A lot of us didn't sign up to be leaders, and we're not really skilled at that position. But I think you have to really take time to lead your team. And that might mean getting them a couple of days off before they ask, right? Noticing that they're burnt out and saying, hey, Thursday and Friday next week, Thanksgiving, we're going to take Friday off. We're shutting it all down. Everybody's putting it out office on and taking that break and being proactive. If you're not doing that with your team, you absolutely need to. Taking time out together, whether you're a two-man team, whether it's just you, whether you have a big team, taking a couple of hours on a Friday saying, hey, we're shutting this thing down at noon. We're going to go have lunch together, and we're going to spend a couple of hours working on our business together. Hey guys, here's what I'm scared of. I'm scared that rates are going to go to 4%. Hey, here's the other thing. I'm scared that rates are going to go to 1%. And we have to plan for both of those things. Here is the plan. And even if you're not completely thought out, if you just have some semblance of a plan and you get your team's buy-in, they know that you care. They know that you're thinking about the future. And I think the hard part, at least for me, is my job has always been to go out and get the business, originating the loan, right? The hunt and the anxiety and the fear and the nervousness around that has been what has driven me to get on the phone and be creative and do all that stuff. And that is gone right now. I cannot keep up with all of the stuff that's coming in. And it causes this complacency almost, this feeling that I'm not doing my job, because for 20 years I have hunted, right? But now it's like I am being the hunted. And so if you're feeling like that and you're carrying around guilt and you're like, man, I'm not in front of my realtors, know that you are completely normal. And it's a very emotional thing that not a lot of us talk about or think about. But I think it's really important as you get more introspective to just recognize that, be aware of it, don't beat yourself up, but make a plan. You have to make a plan. If you make a plan and you start to take action on it, you're going to feel so much better. This complacency that you're feeling, or this lack of action, or just being overwhelmed with all this business that we're all feeling, I feel like we don't talk about the emotional side of it enough. And it is very heavy for all of us right now. And so, the two things I would say is, one, get your team a break proactively. If it's the one thing that you do, go to them and say, hey, you're taking 3 days off next week. I want you to take Wednesday. Obviously, Thanksgiving you're going to have off, and Friday. You're going to stretch it into a 5-day weekend and, have a great time, completely unplug. I've got your back. And you know what? Get their back. And number two, make a plan. And Danny and I are going to go into that a little more.
So, Mark, I was about to move on to the mindset shift, but I want to, I'm putting myself in the shoes of those that might be watching or listening to this. And, what you're saying is a huge ask, right? Because we're talking about, the last 3 days of the month, Monday, the 30th is the last day of the month, what's likely to be one of the biggest funding months ever in the history of the mortgage industry. Certainly one of the biggest Novembers that's ever happened in the mortgage industry. So what would you say if I came to you and I said, Mark, like that all sounds great. And I love that. I wish I could live in the world where that was possible for me, but I'm too scared to do that. We're grinding it out. In fact, I'm hoping people work Thursday morning and definitely Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, super valid point. And it may not be realistic, but 9 times out of 10 with the loan officers that I'm coaching and myself, when I get mentorship from outside, and that includes conversations from you, it's not nearly as bad as I think that it is. And the alternative would be, Danny, hey, what if you don't do this? What if they do work Thursday morning? And what if they have a complete nervous breakdown because they can't spend time with their daughter, their husband, their mom and dad, whom they haven't seen forever on Thanksgiving, and they throw their hands up and say, I'm done? Which of those is the lesser of two evils? And right, it might not be that extreme. I believe that where your team is at, but I see so many that just they're lacking that team culture and that intimacy and the emotional IQ to know that, Danny, if you were to do this, the deposits that you're putting into the bank account of your team are going to reap such big rewards. They're going to feel so recharged. They're going to be more grateful, more loyal, a lot harder to poach from your competitors, and they're likely to come back with their batteries recharged, less mistakes. And even if they're working for a shorter amount of time, that could be getting more done. There's a lot that could come out of this. And so I would challenge whomever to look at it from both ways, but absolutely don't do anything reckless to your business, but really ask yourself, is it reckless? What if the worst possible thing happened and this loan didn't fund until Monday after the Thanksgiving holiday? What would really happen? Would you lose a referral partner for real? Or are you just telling yourself that story? Those types of things is what I would challenge you to do, because the alternative, in my opinion, is much worse.
Mark, that's incredibly well said, dude. It's like really well articulated. And the only thing I'll add to that, and then we'll move on. And actually, the mindset shift we have to offer today is really just a perfect segue. There's a lot of currencies that are being traded, and those of you that are gonna stick with us on this journey, seeing these webinars, you're gonna hear me say that phrase a lot. There's a lot of currencies that are being traded, and they don't always trade at the same rate, right? So there's tactical currencies. That's things like money, right, and time, and then there's emotional currency. And when you're trading emotional currency, you're almost always getting a better exchange rate. So, as you were talking, Mark, I was flashing through my head, the scenario where, my production partner works Thursday morning, and then it turns out the turkey's dry and everybody's disappointed because they weren't there spending time with their family. And they look back and they regret those moments that they missed out on. And at that point, there's the withdrawal that just came out of that bank that you have, that trust bank you have with that person. That is so much larger of a withdrawal that you could make than anything that you could replace with money, which is really the only answers that you would have to that based on whatever fundings that happened in that month. So yeah, really well said, dude. And I think if we want to kind of jump to the mindset slide here.
I love the visual of emotional currency, man. And the different currencies that we trade. It just it's a really good point. Well said, man.
Yeah, thank you. So mindset shift, and I want to share this idea. First, this is going to take a little bit of definition, but plate discipline and the power of no is really what we want to offer today as our mindset shift. So what plate discipline means, it's a baseball reference. And the specific definition of it is swinging at the pitches that are that you can hit, and just taking the ones that you know you either can't hit or you shouldn't hit. And so let's focus more on shouldn't hit, because I think in our business, especially those that are joining calls like this, there's pretty much every pitch you get, you can hit it. And in fact, I'll go ahead and stress that there's a huge difference between early career, and many of those of you watching this today or listening to it later, you might be in the phase of your career where it's almost like the minor leagues, where you have to swing at every pitch. You have to get your numbers up, right? You don't have the luxury of choosing your pitches, right? That's just not the place that you're at. And if you're not at that place, absolutely, you should be swinging at all the pitches. You should be saying yes to every referral partner that wants to work with you, regardless of whether or not you're energetically aligned with them or they meet your team culture, right? It's just the place that you are at. But at some point in your career, and the analogy here, that just to carry it forward, is the move from the minor league to the major league. You have to change the way you play the game, because the pitchers are more skilled, right? You're not able to hit every pitch the way you were in the minors, and your ability to be successful is going to be dependent on that concept of plate discipline. So this is basically making those choices and deciding when saying, and the last thing I'll say about this, and I should have written this quote on the slide. I'll do that before we share this I'll try to do that if it's in my technical capability before we share this in the e-learning platform, is that when you say yes to something, you are automatically saying no to something else, because you only have so much time. You're either saying no to another opportunity in your business, you're saying no to an opportunity in your family, or you're saying no to yourself and commitments that you made to yourself. Any other thoughts on this, just to frame it up, Mark?
Yeah, I think you're framing it more towards higher producers. And I just want to make something super clear. If you're a great hitter and you're in the minor leagues, you are swinging at everything, like Danny said. And there are some people that I'm coaching right now that do not have enough loans in the pipeline. And when rates do go to 4%, what is going to happen to you? You need to be swinging at everything. Everything that comes your way, you swing, and you go find more things to swing at. And when the game is over, you get in the batting cage. And it is absolutely urgent. If you are not absolutely overwhelmed with business, it is fish in a barrel out there. And when rates turn and everybody goes after the purchase market, it is going to be unbelievably harder for you. When you get to the major leagues, the pitching is so much better. Like Danny said, you see minor league players in baseball who are amazing in the minor leagues, and they get to the majors and they don't last half a season because they can't hit the ball. The pitching is that much better. And so, yes, plate discipline and saying no is probably the biggest thing. And I personally, it's my number one struggle. If I have a relationship with someone and they need me to get that loan done, even when I know it is going to just crumble my system, I don't say no. And it wreaks havoc on everything. And so I absolutely need to be better at saying no. So that really resonates with me, Danny. But the other side I want to emphasize as well, you need to be going bananas right now. It is the opportunity of a lifetime. And our colleague, Josh Metal, said one time, what would you do if rates went to 4% tomorrow? Think about that. It could really happen. Tomorrow, this whole thing could be over. And if you're not living your life like that is going to happen tomorrow, you need to figure out how to make the fear of that happening so great that you use that fear to motivate yourself to take massive action. And, in my case, I'm helping people make calls. I'm doing whatever I can to show them that results can come from that, because I promise you there will be a day when that happens and you're going to look back. When you look back, I want you to be able to say, I absolutely crushed it. I gave it everything I could, and I have absolutely no regrets. This is about living a life of zero regrets, and it's hard right now. You heard me say, I have this complacency. Why do I have this complacency feeling that I'm carrying around with me? Because for 20 years, I've been hunting food, and right now there's so much food, I can't possibly eat it all. And so, it's just this crazy mind shift, that it's I wanted to say a bad word there, but I think you know what I'm saying. And And the point is, it works both ways. If you are early on in your career and you need to be taking everything, you have to go bananas. And if you are bananas right now and you have so much business, you need plate discipline. You need to keep your eye on the ball. You need to make sure you're doing a basic blocking and tackling and batting cage practice, so that when it does turn, your referral partners are still there, right? So I just want to emphasize the other side of that as well.
And I want to just the final point on this mindset shift. I want to actually provide a bridge between those two states of being that I think was definitely really challenging for me. And Mark, not to put you on the spot, but I'm going to say that I think you still struggle with this a lot, and I think almost everybody watching this this will resonate with them, which is that by nature, we are people pleasers, right? We got where we are because we said yes to people, right? Not because we said no. And that's taking all the swings, right? And it's really validating, right? To be the person that can say yes, right? And makes people happy, and saves the day. It's intoxicating and it's addictive.
Man, it's such a dopamine hit. And man, you hit me right between the eyes. You know me so well. Danny and I help each other a lot with our businesses, and he knows me very well. And I am a pleaser. And that's why, that sentiment really cuts me straight to the bone, because it is so hard for me, especially when I want to please people, to say no. But it's really important right now not to disrupt what's going on and take on things that you shouldn't be taking on.
Perfect. So if we can pull the PowerPoint up again, just as a reminder, plate discipline is the process of really organizing your life and business around what you really want to accomplish, and then recognizing what big rocks you need to put into your life and to your calendar. Where you're spending your time and your money really determines who and what you and your business will look like. So emphasize for yourself what those important things are that are going to take you to that destination. And we're gonna transition now to business planning, but we really wanted to emphasize this idea of plate discipline and living a life by design, which requires saying no really more than it does saying yes, but without losing sight of the fact that those of you that are early on in your careers, yes is plate discipline at that point in your career is taking every possible swing that you can. So just really wanting to take the next 20 minutes or the last 20 minutes or so here, really talking about getting on your business and what the incremental steps are. So one of the things that we committed to from a value added standpoint here, for those of you that join us on this tribe journey, is that we really want to give you actionable steps, not just a high level view, but say what you need to do and why you need to do it, so that you can then take that information into your business and act on it right away. So these are, and we've broken this down into 2 steps. So we're going to have this session, and then in a couple of weeks we'll continue on this conversation about business planning. But we broke it down into these steps: set a goal, know what your destination is, know your numbers so you can understand where you are. So the goal is like, where you want to go, and then the numbers are the "you are here" dot on the map, right? And the plan is the route, right? There's a lot of routes that you can take to get to where you want to go based on where you are. Your plan will tell you which route you're going to take. We want to talk specifically about what we feel is a mission critical part of 2021 business planning, which is diversifying your referral partner base and building out your team. And those 2 are very tactical, but the real core elements of business planning is set the goal, know your numbers, make a plan.
Yeah, and I think let's just start on this first part, setting a goal. So one of the things I would like to be vulnerable about and admit is a lot of times I'll go to these sessions and I'll just give my canned answer without like a real exploration. Hey, Mark, what's your why? Well, I've got my answer. It's right here. Hey, set a goal for your business. Write a goal down of what I want to accomplish. And to my credit, a lot of times I would accomplish that goal just because I wrote it down. What I really want to encourage you to do is do some exploration. What does your business really need? What is the next step in your business? What makes you happy? What makes you, what do you hate, right? What's zapping all your energy and causing you not to be the best you? We just talked about giving your team a break. You need a break too, right? And so when you go to set this goal down, get grounded, get by yourself with a piece of paper and think about your business and write down, like I'm doing it right now. I'm taking catalog of everything I do in 15-minute increments for the next 2 weeks. And I've done this several times, right? But I'll look at those things and I'll say, what is it that I would really like to get away from? And if I got away from those things, what could I do with that extra time? Would it be better? Do I still need to take those things? I'm being really honest about it. But in case that resonates with any of you, I don't know how many times, how many years I've been just going through the motions on goal setting, right? So this year, I really want to challenge all of us to get really real with setting your goals. Instead of, if you're not going to do anything, set up and go through the motions. Because like I said, if you just set a goal, you'll get it. But think about these goals. To Danny's point, diversifying your realtor base is quite arguably one of the most important things to do over the next 12 to 24 months. So think about your goal. What is going to give you traction? What's going to give you happiness? What's going to bring you better results, right? But actually go through some exploratory, time with yourself to just think about what it is that you're really trying to accomplish versus showing up to a goal planning session with your team and just writing something down, right? Which I have been guilty of doing several times. So I just wanted to put that out there.
So, and one thing I'll offer that I think is really important as it relates to goal setting for 2021 is, and most of the time when I sit down with the loan officer or a mortgage team, and I'm personally doing that coaching process of goal setting, the goal's anchored around income, and that is totally fine. I don't want to discourage that at all. I'm likely one of the most capitalistic individuals that you'll ever meet in your life. So anchoring around your income goal is totally fine. However, I want to offer two thoughts to this. When you write down your income goal for 2021, ask yourself why. Why is that the number, right? That, like, what is important about that number? Does it need to be there? Does it need to be higher? Does it need to be lower? What if it was 20% higher? What if it was 20% lower, right? What would that mean for your life? What it would mean for your business? How would you have to reorient your time, your energy around the higher or lower figure based on choosing it? And you're going to hear me talk about this pretty consistently over the next 6, 18, maybe forever on this tribe journey, is when you look at your 2021 number, and then when we have the same conversation for 2022, ask yourself if you're anchoring that number in what you did in 2020 or 2021, if it's this future point, versus what you really believe the goal should be. And the reason I share that is that, and this is me getting vulnerable, 2016 was my best year ever, and I haven't been originating for a little while, but 2016 was a great year for me. And 2017, it was very, very emotionally to kind of track the fact that it was so much harder to earn income than it was in the previous year. And it hit me hard. And I know this happened to a lot of loan officers because I had a lot of conversations with them in 2017, that I wasn't able to keep the pace that I was on in 2016. So I want to offer up that there will be a time, it may not be next year, because depending on how things go, next year could even be bigger than this year, but there will be a year where you cannot reach that previous high water mark. And if we're not prepared for it and asking the question, why is that the right income number, then we can get caught flat-footed and have some emotional energy that doesn't serve ourselves, our lives, or our business. So just wanted to throw that out there. When you pick that goal, which it's okay to be a business, a financial goal, ask yourself those questions.
Really well said, man. Know your numbers. When you're starting your business plan, it is imperative that you know your numbers. How much refi business did you do? How much purchase business did you do? Where did your business come from? How many referral partners do you have? What what was your business? Was it government? Was it conventional? You know, it's important to track all of that. And I think, you know, for, you know, getting a CRM is very important. It's probably more important now than it's ever been. I feel like I keep saying that about everything, but it's very true, because technology is coming. You can feel it. If you're awake right now and you see what's going on around you, technology is coming. And so, you know, getting a CRM is probably more important than ever. But the best CRM is the one that you'll use. And I struggled forever. Danny was a mentor to me in this, in that he was so far ahead of me with his CRM. And every time I looked at it, I just got so overwhelmed. But I used 2 Excel spreadsheets for probably 15 years, 14 years of my business. And only, you know, 3-4 years ago did I really adopt a CRM. And those Excel spreadsheets were awesome. I was a great producer with 2 Excel spreadsheets, one for my leads and referral sources, and one for, you know, transaction management. So if you're struggling with a CRM, I would really encourage you to break it down to the same thing that Danny has laid out here for you. Set a goal with your CRM. Once I said, look, I just want to get my leads in there, and I want to be able to manage my transaction in there. I don't care about fancy marketing or automatic triggers. I just want to get these 2 Excel spreadsheets in a CRM. And once I set that goal and got my team's buy-in around that goal, it made tackling the CRM so much better. And what naturally happened is, well, then we started managing our transactions. Pretty soon we had birthdays. Pretty soon we had, you know, automations around trigger points and getting rid of some of the emails. And you know, over a couple of years, it was a process. It all came together. But Danny, this is something where every loan officer that I talk to says that they want a CRM, but nobody knows better than you that sometimes a CRM can be a full-time job, and people are scared to hire somebody to do a CRM full-time when there's so much need for bandwidth and everything that seems more important. So what's your perspective, you know, being much more advanced on the CRM side than I am?
So I'll offer 2 things, and then I'll get pretty granular on what knowing your numbers should look like. So the first is that if you have a properly executed CRM, it will function like a full-time employee. So you'll actually be able to replace an FTE on your team with your technology. I'm absolutely confident in that, and I've seen it happen. And not only that, you'll actually see the productivity of the rest of your team increase. And that's because if you properly execute your CRM, everyone will know what their job is. And that's one of the greatest challenges for teams. And I'll kind of reference back to, you know, a comment that you made earlier in reference to Tim, Mark, is that many of us didn't sign up to be leaders. But once we got to a place where, you know, we started inviting people into our businesses, you immediately become a leader, right? Because you have to direct that person's time. And one of the hardest parts of leadership is clear communication. And specifically what I'm referring to is role definition and accountability around role definition. And a well-executed CRM helps people get very clear on what their job is and what's important now, right? So that win philosophy, what's important now. So the CRM can communicate to the team what they need to be working on that hour, that day, that week, in order for your team to be successful. So and this is where I want to get granular on knowing your numbers. So you should be thinking about your numbers in 2 ways. So one way is the lagging indicators, right? So this is an easy thing. I'll define some of these, right? Fundings, number of fundings, right? Your commissions that you've gotten, you know, the units closed. That's the greatest lagging indicator in your business. And obviously it's mission critical for you to get closings because that's what pays the bills. But you should also be focused on your leading indicators, right? What actually gets you to the fundings, and really back that all the way up, right? So before you can get a funding, right, you need to get a loan locked and in process. And before you can get a loan locked and in process, you need to have a consultation and convert that to a lock. And before you can have a consultation, you need to get leads. So each of those is itself a leading indicator to the following lagging indicator, right? So lead goes to conversion. So the leading indicator is the lead, and then the lagging indicator is the conversion. And you want to measure those two things, and then measure your rate of conversion from one to the other. And then even before lead, right, you have your marketing, your prospecting, your solicitation of referral partners. That's all leading indicator activity work that then gets you leads, right? Your database management influences how many leads you get. So when we're talking about knowing your numbers, and to your point, Mark, this is overwhelming. I can feel it through the computer that there are now going, oh my gosh, that's too much, right? That's too much for me to do. But what this comes down to, and the reason business planning is so important, is that you're treating your business like a business, right? And you're laying out the roadmap so that you're converting the chaos of your business into bite-sized chunks that can be attacked. And the other thing that happens when you know your numbers at this level is that you can really find out where the drop-off point is. And what I mean by that is, let's say your goal is to get 12 fundings a month. And you need to get, so many locks, so many consultations, so many leads in order to get to the 12 fundings. Well, it could be that the challenge is that your lead to conversion is really poor, right? Let's say you get 100 leads and you're only converting 15 of them. But then from conversion to you're getting those, and all 15 of those turn into 12 fundings. That's a great pull through from that point on. But you should be asking yourself in this hypothetical example, why am I only converting at 15% of my leads, right? And then you can really get focused on that area of, and again, this is curious, right? You're getting curious about your business. Wow, I'm only converting at 15% lead to consultation. What's going on there? Once I get them on the line, they're in it to win it. But what's happening right here? And that's what knowing your numbers really can do. And your CRM can help you capture the information and then create visualization around it if you've executed it properly.
Yeah, I think that, one thing I want to comment on, this takes me back. I was in a core summit. I was listening to Shayla Gifford, and like me, she was talking about just trying to get more and more and more and more leads, because she wanted to close more deals, and 100 leads coming in, converting at 20%. Man, I need to get that to 120, right? So that I can take my 20 deals, and if I get 120 leads, I take it to 24. Well, what she realized when she started to track this conversion rate, which you can easily do with the CRM, is tweaking the conversion rate to 25% versus 20 gets you 25 deals with no more leads, right? And I think, as a salesperson, I'm the guy that's like, it's my job to go hunt. I've got to go, bring more food to the table. And I think getting out of this, we didn't sign up to be leaders, right? But getting out of this and thinking like your own CEO, looking at this conversion rate and tweaking one small thing. I tell the story all the time of how I took one of Danny's ideas from a talk I heard him do and implemented it. And one small thing, you're converting at 5% better. Now you've got 5 more deals times every single month for 12 months. That's 60 more deals a year. How much more income is that? Times how many more years? And you just keep refining and tweak and tweak and tweak. But if you don't know those numbers, you're just like me. You're like, I got to get more business, right? And I think you can work smarter if you're actually looking at these metrics. But it's a process. Like, this was so daunting. It took me, I was like the guy who really wanted a CRM, but I didn't really want a CRM. It's one of those things that sucks energy away, right? It wasn't until I figured out, how can I implement this thing, but I don't have to build it and do it. And so it can be done. And these are the things that I mean. You have to really think about it. And anytime that obstacle presents itself, like, oh, this is too overwhelming, I'm just going to stick to my Excel spreadsheets. No, that obstacle is the way. And I think, all of that hopefully will start to crystallize for you, because this CRM piece is so important to be able to get granular and make these calls. If you're not even tracking it, or if you're doing it manually, you're working too hard. This can be a full-time employee for you and your team. It just takes massive focus to get it up and get it going. And then once you get it up and going, you can build, you can refine, you can go forward. But you won't know that stuff if you're not really looking at your numbers.
And I guarantee you this too, Mark. Anybody that is growing their business without using technology tools like a CRM, they're missing opportunities. Because there's only so much bandwidth our brains have to hold information and create prioritization and execute on that prioritization. It's just not possible as a business scales to do that without some reservoir for those contacts and those commitments. And the other thing I'll add, and this was kind of transitioning into the next bullet point, which is making a plan, if we want to pull that presentation back up, is that when you're making a plan, right, you have to, where you want to go, where you are, and then the route you get there is going to be determined by how granular you got with your numbers, right? So it might be, to your point, Mark, that the thing that's going to get you to your 2021 target is actually curating your referral partner base and whittling it down so that you make space for new opportunities, or focusing your energy on those realtors or planners, divorce or real estate attorneys that are providing you the highest converting leads, right? So you can have one realtor in 2020 that gave you 100 opportunities, you converted 5, and another that gave you 25 opportunities, you converted 20, right? I bet you that the person who's giving you a lead every day, it feels really great, but if they're not converting, right, it's really difficult to know that in the moment, right? Because getting those leads is what feels good, right? Converting it feels better, right? But you're constantly getting that validation from that business partner that you're their choice. But if for some reason those leads aren't converting, you won't know that until you zoom out and look at your big picture and have collected in some data warehouse the information about that conversion by a realtor that is actually going to give you the ability to create that focus and make the plan, right? Making a plan, I don't believe we can get too granular on it outside of these, high level philosophical versions of it, because it's you that will know where you are and where you want to go, and the different options that you have to get there. But I would just invite you to consider that the better you know your numbers, the more focused you'll be able to be on creating a plan.
Yeah, and I think to simplify this for those of you that are following along is, if we take the analogy of, hey, I need to implement a CRM. That's my goal. Okay. I need to know, what my numbers are and what the most important thing is. When you're making your plan, the way I finally bit this giant thing down into small steps was, look, I just want to get my leads in there, right? I didn't upload my whole past client database. I didn't do all that, right? But I was tracking my leads already on an Excel spreadsheet. Hey, I just want to get the leads into the database so that I can set a little drip campaign and go on. When you make the plan, break down the goal into tiny bite-sized pieces that you can give yourself a victory. Once I got that in there, I was like, okay, I now want all the milestones and the transaction management portion into my CRM, right? Another little bite-sized piece that you can do. So when you're making the plan on the goal, get these little victories, the sprint goals, as I call them, in your plan, so that you know what you need to do first and second and third, and make it really achievable so that you can get some progress going forward.
We have a slide coming up where we can kind of go a little bit more in depth on that. We'll spend 5 minutes on breaking that down. But I want to take a second to talk about diversifying your referral partner base and some of the ways that you might be able to do that. So first, I want to share why I think this is important. And the why really has to do with what I believe to be a imbalance in the way that as mortgage professionals, we've kind of looked at our businesses, and it's okay. It's not a judgment, right? Because I did the same thing. My business was 98% realtor referrals. So it was hugely out of balance from a diversification standpoint. However, what I realize now, and what I've been talking to a lot of other mortgage professionals, mortgage leaders about, and I think we can all see it and feel it, is that technology has started to move the consumer away from the realtor. And what many of you may have felt over the last 3 years, I know I definitely felt it, and I've talked to many others that have, that the ability to refer and the strength of a realtor referral on average has gone down. Meaning 3 years ago, Mark, you might have gotten a referral from a realtor that said, you must use Mark Robertson in order to purchase this home from me, right? You must use him or I will not work with you. And over the last 3 years, there might be still a handful of your very dedicated partners that operate with that mindset, but the population that really have leaned in that direction has started to dwindle a little bit. Would you agree with that?
And I think the current environment, there might be so much competition that your realtors are stickier than they really are. But if you think about rates going to 4% and then having a purchase environment where it's more of a equilibrium and not so much a seller's market, think of how sticky your realtor partners are going to be at that time. Future cast that. So yes, I would agree with that for sure. And I think that it might be a little nuanced right now. I've probably got more stickiness than I would have if it wasn't like, a multiple offer competitive situation on every single deal.
Right. No, great point. And the other thing I would offer as the why, and we are going to get into the how here in a second, is that once you are able to crack the code, and it's going to take a different approach than you currently have, because you know how to engage a realtor, right? They are party to the transaction. You know what they need, because they need the same thing you need, right? They need leads to come in. They need them to convert. They need to have a delightful client experience during the transaction. So it's very clear. But financial planners, CPAs, attorneys, that might be a little bit more difficult to find out exactly how you can add value to their business. And it's not as intuitive. However, when you crack the code, and you will if you follow some of the strategies that we have to recommend, and we'll continue to recommend as you join us on these calls, the strength of a referral from a financial services professional or a legal professional is so much stronger than the strength of the average realtor referral. And I'm not saying everyone, because I'm sure, and I know I did have some very strong partnerships that were awesome and that came the referrals came very strong. But imagine the call that said, "Hey, Mark, my attorney said I had to call you to refinance." Right?
Well, your attorney's right, Danny. Let's get that done.
yeah, exactly. Or, hey, my financial planner said that you're the best person to help me build wealth through real estate.
Dude, right? I love it. It's also a more fun business, and it's like 100% conversion. It's very rare that I go into a financial planner's office, explain the value proposition, how I do business, how we're going to do business together, and I don't walk out with a relationship that bears fruit. It's unbelievable. It's very different from, the same meeting with a real estate agent.
So we're probably only going to have time to touch on kind of the scripting that you use for this, Mark, but I'll kind of set the stage of it. So we called it, and I'm sure you're doing this now, right? The 5th page of the 1003, right? Where you start to ask questions that are not on the standard loan application. So you want to learn from your clients who are their financial services and legal professionals that are going to support and provide the ongoing infrastructure that's going to allow them to become a successful homeowner. You as the mortgage professional should be gathering that information and find out who they're working with and ask a simple question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the service they provide to you? So this is their insurance agent, their financial planner, their CPA, any attorneys that they work with. So how does that script sound for you, Mark, when you go through it?
For me, it's a really authentic thing. I would say something, that I notice. Hey, Danny, I noticed you have a lot of money in cash, and I'm sure that that's because you were, planning to buy real estate, but why do you have so much money just, in your bank account? What's your philosophy there? And I would just listen to what you had to say. And most of the time when I ask those questions, I'm not personally satisfied with the answer. And so that's a trigger for me. Like if I see someone with a lot of cash, immediately that's where my head goes. And then I'll make an introduction. And, so it would sound like, Danny, hey, with your permission, I want to introduce you to my financial planner, Alex. He is awesome. He's not going to sell you anything. Just meet with him and see if it resonates to be a fit. Because if you're anything like me, I was hoarding all my cash. I didn't know really what to do with it, but I also just didn't know where to start with a financial planner. And I think these guys are really awesome. And I think you should, take a meeting with them because I think you really like them. And I've made a lot of traction over the last 3 to 4 years, assuming they fit in Alex's box, right? And so then I'll just make an email introduction. I cannot think of a time when a client has been like, no, that I don't want to do that. It's very easy for me to refer that. And then I also have a different financial planner who's on the other side of the spectrum, and we'll take brand new clients that don't have any money and we'll help them save. And she and I have built up a really great referral, relationship with, and that script sounds a little differently. Hey, Danny, you and your wife are about to buy your first house. You're about to have a baby. There's so many things that you probably don't know on a financial perspective. And one of the things that I would really love to do, with your permission, is just introduce you to my financial planner, Mary, who does a really good job of taking families like yours and setting them up for success in the future. And she really understands real estate, and we work as a team together to make this the most successful transaction for you. There's no cost, no obligation. She's not going to sell you anything. As you can see, that's really important to me because that's how I like to be treated as a consumer. And same thing, I'll just make an email introduction and say, hey, Mary, this is Danny. I would really love it. It'd be a personal favor if you could just take a 30-minute meeting with them, scope out their situation, where they want to go, and provide a little bit of advice to them. And so, that's how the meeting starts. And inevitably, she's like, oh, they're investing with me. It's only $100 a month, but it's so simple. And then the reciprocation from Mary and Alex is, more than I can handle right now. So it's a very, very easy referral.
So I want to pull out, team, a couple of steps here, right? So the first one is you need to have business partners that you can refer to. So finding out whether it's your own personal financial planner, CPA, confirming with them that they're in a position to accept referrals, having a meeting with them and asking, who is your ideal client? When I refer you, how do you want me to introduce you? Right? What's, is it via email, text, phone call? What do you want me to say about your business so that when they come over to you, they're already prepared and they've already built trust in your business based on my transference of that trust. And team, if you can probably read between the lines here, the next thing you want to share with them is, hey, if you ever have referrals, I'd like to offer you what I'd like you to say about my business, right? And how I'd like you to introduce me as a financial services advisor on behalf of your clients, right? So you're creating that reciprocity, and you're also guiding them on how to refer you. Because one of the greatest steps in improving your conversion rate is to filtering out towards your ideal client, and then making sure that the handoff is done in such a way that the expectations set with that future client meet what you're actually able to deliver, right? So you set those expectations on both sides. So let's say you don't have this group of people yet that you can then refer to. So asking that question, how do you rank your CPA, financial planner, a divorce, real estate, 1 to 10, insurance person 1 to 10, right? Wait for them to say they're a 10 and so, wow, that's amazing. I don't hear people give 10s to their insurance agent that often. Would you mind if I reached out to them? I'd love to introduce myself. If they're a 10 for you, I might want to move my policies over. At the very least, I probably have other people that I could refer out to them, right? And then just that. And then if they're a 7 or below, like, oh, wow, I noticed you rated them as a 7. It sounds like there's some opportunity for your expectations to be met differently or better. Would you mind if I introduced you to somebody who my clients consistently rank as a 10, right? So now you're opening up a very organic and authentic conversation where you're now the hub of the wheel, right? So you are the one who are bringing the people together and then allowing their needs to be met by the appropriate professional to meet those needs. And you're now the hub of those conversations and the person making those introductions so that the families can have the best opportunity to be served over the long term and to build wealth through real estate. Mark, we're really jammed on time.
We have to continue this next time, but let's just remember here, look, take some time to work on your business, enroll your team, and try to make sure you're getting them what they need as well. Set goals and think about what's the why? Why are you setting this goal? And go crazy, go bananas with diversifying your real estate partner base. Now we went off on a tangent and really showed you some tactical stuff to do this. It's hard to be doing this right now, but it's important. Put your stuff in the CRM and get after diversifying your real referral partner base. We will go even deeper and more granular on business planning in our next session, which is what, December 3rd, Danny, is that right?
December 3rd at 9:30. I'm going to skip through some slides here and just right to the thank you. Yeah. So December 3rd, we're going to continue our business planning. We're going to go deeper into CRM as well as touching on team building, and then sharing a process that we believe is really valuable for you to create some focus and creating the ability to kind of get that plate discipline that we were referencing. So thank you. We want to be super respectful of your time. We really appreciate you spending this hour with us. Have an awesome day.
Go get it, guys. Cheers.